Hello, hello, welcome in. As we are all getting in, if you could I'm going to send over a poll. Get to know a little bit about you. So we want to know where you're at in your parenting journey. If you are expecting, if you have a newborn, or if you have a baby who is older than 4 months. They're coming in fast. Looks like 89% of people so far are expecting. So we're going to keep that going as everyone starts to come in. All right. I just want to make sure it's not showing the green screen on my laptop. So let me see. Perfect. Okay. Awesome. Okay. So just a little bit of housekeeping. Everyone seems to be coming in still. About 80% are expecting. So you are definitely in the right spot, especially newborn too. We're going to go over what to cover in the first 30 days. So this is Breastfeeding 101 hosted by Tinyhood. Just to let you know, cameras and microphones have been turned off, but please feel free to ask the questions in the chat. Dana is going to answer them during the live Q&A at the end. Dana is our expert. I'll introduce her in a little bit. And my name is Stacy. I'll be helping host this, making sure that this is fun, efficient, and informative. So our agenda for today, we're going to do the introductions. Hopefully I can keep it under 5 minutes. Breastfeeding live stream will then start. It will be about 30 minutes long. And then afterwards, we will have a live Q&A. So make sure during the class that you're asking the questions, especially so that they're top of mind. We're going to keep those recorded, and then we're going to be answering them afterwards. And if by chance we don't get to all of your questions, we will send them out later with the follow-up in the replay, at least 24 hours after. So for those of you who are new to Tinyhood and have not interacted with us yet, Tinyhood, we think of ourselves as parenting education reimagined. We're an online parenting education platform. We specialize in on-demand cinematic quality classes taught by leading experts. Our mission is to empower all parents with the knowledge that they need to help their families thrive. We have everything from pregnancy all the way through childbirth and the toddler years, navigating all of the parenting milestones with expert support. Our classes cover topics from childbirth, sleep, baby care, safety, CPR, starting solids, developmental milestones, potty training, behavior, and more. We're the only parenting education platform that actually grows with you. And what's really cool about our stuff is that all of the videos, as you see, are in tiny little chapters that you can start, stop. They're only a few minutes long, but they cover a wide verse of topics to make sure that they are consumable and made for busy parents and expecting parents. So today, what we're going to cover in the Breastfeeding 101, we're going to discover what milestones to expect in the first few hours, days, and weeks of the breastfeeding journey. We're going to introduce key concepts, including latch and positioning, how much and how often baby needs to eat, and more. We're going to learn the basics to actually get you set up for success. So we're going to cover a step-by-step guide for the first month, the basics of milk production, how much baby needs and how often baby needs to eat, the best practices for a good latch, and daily breastfeeding benchmarks. And I don't want to forget to mention our exclusive offer. So you get 30% off at a Tinyhood subscription with the code BF as in breastfeeding or best friend, which however you want to remember it, breastfeeding webinar 30. So you can actually, if you're not on your phone right now, you can actually scan that and it will take you right to the checkout screen. You can do that at any time or even when we send out the replay. This gives you access to our entire library. So that's everything from childbirth all the way up to the toddler years. It also includes our live support sessions that are held every single week, and then access to hundreds of downloadables, class guides, checklists, and cheat sheets. But I want to get into the big the reason why we're all here. All right. So I want to introduce you to Dana. Dana is our international board certified lactation consultant, and she is a prized possession here at Tinyhood. So Dana, if you can introduce yourself, and then we'll get started with that class.
Hi, everybody. Thanks, Stacy. Very excited to be here. I am a nurse and a lactation consultant. I have been working, decades supporting women and their families, really just on their, feeding journeys and reaching their goals, whatever that may mean for you. So you'll hear much more from me in the next half hour or so, and then really excited to get into the question and answer as well, and feel like hopeful that you guys are going to get a lot out of this. So will awkwardly watch me now, I
Yeah.
think.
Now Dana has to sit through her whole class listening to herself. We all know how that is. So whenever we hear ourselves on the phone, I'm going to start sharing my screen and showing this. And I also want you to take a moment, if you can. I'm going to actually end this poll. So it looks like so far, out of everyone who was in the poll, looks like 76% are expecting, and then about 24, it keeps shifting now that I say it, in the poll. So here, let's see. Thank you. Thank you. All right, in the comments, please keep it active. Ask any questions. We have our moderators watching, so they're going to actually take those questions and then we're going to answer them at the end. So I'm going to end this poll. Thank you, everyone who is sharing it. So as you could see there, that's how the poll results came. Pretty cool. All right, so I'm going to share my screen and walk you through this. Maybe, maybe not. All right, so as you can see, this is actually our platform right here. I'm in the Breastfeeding 101 class, and the way that you can navigate it, so we're going to make this screen really big so you can't see the chapters, but when you first log in, you can actually see all of the chapters that you've kind of went through in each class. This is just one of our classes. So I can show you a little bit later how to actually navigate the site and find all the different classes as well. But as you go through here, you'll see the first chapter is only 3 minutes long. So you could see the time on them. And then down at the bottom, you can see actually our handouts. So whenever you see this little logo that looks like the piece of paper with the writing on it, that is a downloadable handout. So you can actually print that out, download it, and use it to refer back to. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Again, make sure that you're active in that chat. Let us know where you're from as well. So we want to see how far this webinar has actually reached, and ask your questions away and we'll answer them at the end. Very excited.
Generally, babies are ready to breastfeed right after birth. They're born with natural instincts to get to the breast. They're usually calm and alert and eager to eat. Right after delivery, no matter how you had your baby, C-section or vaginal delivery, baby is going to be put on your chest skin to skin as soon as possible. Skin to skin is when baby is on mom's bare chest, they're bare, and the head is to the side. If mom and baby are separated for whatever reason right after birth, no reason to stress. We're going to ask about a pump to get breastfeeding off to a good start, and we're going to do skin to skin as soon as we can. So, like I mentioned, right at the beginning, baby is awake and eager to eat most of the time. Again, if that doesn't happen and baby doesn't latch in those first few hours, it's okay. It's very normal for baby to be very sleepy on day one after that first initial awake alert stage. So don't panic if baby doesn't want to eat every 3 hours. Remember, their tummy is very small. They don't need a big volume today. It's about the size of a cherry or a shooter marble and can only fit about 1 teaspoon every few hours. So we're going to try to feed baby every 3 hours. A nursing session can be anywhere from 5 minutes to 40 minutes or longer. All of that is within normal limits. We want to alternate which breast we begin on. And in between breasts or after a nursing session, let's try to burp baby. You likely won't get a burp because it's just colostrum, but it's good practice and it actually helps us wake baby to encourage them to eat more. If baby is just too sleepy to latch or drink effectively at the breast, let's consider doing hand expression to get out some of that colostrum and feed it to baby in something like a spoon. A lot of times, this is when moms ask what they can and cannot eat because they've started feeding baby. I want to remind you that there are no restrictions on your diet. There's no need to eliminate specific foods. A normal, healthy diet is perfect for you and your breastfed baby. So let's just recap what to expect on day one. Baby's stomach size is really small. It's about the size of a cherry. This is about 1 teaspoon every few hours. That's less than 10 milliliters. We're going to try for 8 feedings in that first day. But again, if baby's too sleepy, we're not going to stress if it's only 2 or 3 for a normal, healthy, full term babe. We're looking for 1 wet diaper on day 1 of life and 1 dirty diaper. And the color of baby's poop is going to be black and it's going to be super sticky. It's called meconium. That's baby's first poops. Our goal today for successful breastfeeding is a lot of skin to skin and trying to establish a comfortable latch. More often than not, nipple pain is caused by a shallow latch. So we can do a few things to help that right away. We want to make sure baby is nice and close to mama. Sometimes mom has baby in a swaddle or on a pillow just too far away. So getting baby nice and close is really helpful. I can't tell you how much areola you should or shouldn't see because everybody's anatomy is different. But the bottom line is that baby should have more than just the nipple, and some of that areola should be in baby's mouth. Let's take a closer look at latching baby. Just to orient you, here, mom is holding baby in a cross cradle. She has baby in her left arm and she's going to be nursing on the right breast. Her right hand is holding her breast in a C hold. But one thing to notice here is that her fingers are not too close to the nipple. And this is important because our goal is to latch baby nice and deep on the breast, but sometimes our own fingers can get in the way. Another thing to notice here is that mom is not lining up her nipple with baby's mouth. Instead, she's touching or tickling her nipple on baby's upper lip, and then you see baby opens up nice and wide, and mom guides baby forward. Mom is bringing baby to her. She's not bringing her breast to the baby. From this angle, we can see baby's nose is completely free. I know this can be a source of stress or concern for new moms, so a couple tips to help with this. If baby's chin is nice and close to the breast, then usually that frees up space between baby's nose and the breast. If baby's nose is too smushed in a football position, try moving baby a bit backwards. And in a cross cradle, if you feel like baby's nose is smushed in, try lifting baby's bottom. Lastly, remember, if baby can't breathe, they will pull off or readjust. They will choose breathing over eating, but that's why it's important to support baby by the neck at the base of the skull instead of pushing their head into the breast. This angle is great because we can see that baby has a nice, wide, open mouth with lips flanged out. Here, you can see the latch is a bit shallower. Baby has just nipple in her mouth. She's starting to pull and trying to readjust. This is probably uncomfortable for mom. And also, baby can't get out as much milk as she wants in a shallow latch. So mom is going to unlatch baby by putting her finger in the corner of baby's mouth and breaking the suction. Then you can just try the latch again. Tips for good latch include baby having a wide open mouth, having more than just nipple in their mouth, and making sure that baby's lips are flanged out and not tucked in, because that can feel really pinchy to mom. It's important for mom to remember she's bringing baby to her. She's not trying to put her breast in baby's mouth. So let's talk about our feeding plan for day 2. Today, it's really important to continue your skin to skin with babe. Skin to skin can't be highlighted or encouraged enough because it is so important to both you and baby. For baby, it helps regulate their temperature and their glucose levels. And for mom, it actually will help your perception of pain. It's going to help you feel less anxious, less stressed, and get your oxytocin kicking. We want to feed baby today every 2 to 3 hours. We're going to watch baby for early cues. So if they're sleeping and they haven't eaten in 3 hours, we're going to wake them up. But at any time, if we see baby smacking their lips, sticking their tongue out, rooting around, sucking their hands, these are all really good signs that baby is ready to eat. If you're doing skin to skin, your baby may be pecking or headbutting at your chest. They're actually just trying to get to your breast. Let them lead the way. Crying is a late feeding cue. It's no reason to panic, but you don't have to wait for it to tell us that baby is hungry. Let's remember also, it's hard to latch a crying baby. So let's work to calm baby down first and then latch them. Things to remember on day 2, cluster feeding can be common. Cluster feeding is when baby eats for a long time and really frequently. So maybe you fed for 45 minutes, you think baby is done, you put them down or hand them off to your partner, and then baby is giving you those feeding cues again. That's pretty normal and expected for night 2 and night 3. Go with it as much as you can, because remember, baby is hardwired to get your milk to come in. So the more they feed, the more milk you are going to have. It's normal and expected for baby to lose weight by day 2 and to continue until your milk comes in. So nothing to worry about. We expect it. What may be surprising is that you're going to be super thirsty and super hungry once you start nursing. So drink to thirst, stay nice and hydrated, because that's really important for your milk supply. And don't forget, sometimes you do have to wake a sleepy baby. Believe it or not, sometimes it can be pretty difficult to wake a sleeping newborn. So a few strategies to help you. First, unswaddle them, take off their onesie, get them exposed to the cold air. That might do the trick. If not, try changing a diaper. When you do get a latch, baby will probably fall back to sleep pretty quickly because they're nice and cozy and with mama. So try tickling their feet, rubbing their hands, touching their cheek. Those things should help wake baby up and get them nursing again. If that doesn't work, we can try a breast compression, or even if that does work, we can try a breast compression. This is when baby is latched and we use our hands to almost express milk into their mouth by doing a C-hold with a squeeze, or even just a gentle push or massage of mom's breast. This way, we may find a little pocket of colostrum or breast milk. Baby will be excited and pick up drinking again. Other good strategies could include taking baby off and burping them to wake them up, or simply switching sides, because the other side may have a little bit more colostrum waiting for babe. So what to expect on day 2? Baby's stomach on day 2 is slightly bigger, about the size of a walnut. We're looking for 8 to 12 feedings today. So while we were a bit passive on how many feeds baby has on day 1, now we're going to get a little bit more aggressive. We want to make sure that baby feeds at least every 3 hours. We're looking for 2 wet diapers today and 2 dirty diapers. And you'll notice the color of stool is starting to get a little bit lighter. Our goals today are to try to learn different breastfeeding positions, getting comfortable with those positions and latching, and making sure baby stays nice and active at the breast and has effective breastfeeding sessions. Here you can see mom holding baby in a cross cradle position. I tend to like this hold for brand new moms and babies because it allows mom to have good control over the latch. But again, that doesn't mean it's going to be the right position for you, and you should definitely do what feels right. In the cross cradle, Mom holds baby in the opposite arm from the breast she's feeding on. So here, mom is nursing baby on her right breast and holding baby in her left arm. She is supporting baby's head at the base of the skull or the neck. Notice she's not palming back of baby's head, but instead has a thumb at an ear and the other fingers at the other ear, and the baby's head is resting in the webbing of her hand. With a newborn, you'd likely see baby positioned up higher and more horizontal. Usually, baby's bottom is in the crook of mom's arm. This baby is a bit older and mom is an experienced nurser, so baby is resting in mom's lap. For the initial latch, mom's right hand is at her breast to help stabilize the breast or shape the breast for the initial latch on. That hand doesn't need to stay there and hold the breast the whole time. It may move back and forth from a resting position and then back to the breast as breast compressions are needed to keep baby active. Some moms find it easier to do the initial latch in a cross cradle, so they have more control, but then prefer to hold the baby for the remaining time in the cradle hold. That's fine. Do whatever works for you and baby. You're not stuck or frozen in any one position. Here, mom is nursing baby in a cradle hold. Mom holds baby with the same side arm as she is nursing baby on. So mom is holding baby in the right arm and feeding on her right breast. Note, baby is belly to belly with mom and positioned very close to mom. Although this is the hold most people imagine when we talk about breastfeeding positions, it's actually not necessarily the easiest for new moms because it requires more breastfeeding skill and head control than a newborn may have. That being said, don't rule it out. Definitely try it. Here, you see mom latching babe in a football position. This position is particularly good right after a C-section as it keeps baby away from your incision. It's also a great position for moms with larger breasts, so you're better able to see baby's latch and nose, or if you're nursing multiples. In this case, you'd have one baby clutched in each arm. The baby in this clip is obviously not a very young newborn, and mom is an experienced nurser. So she isn't using any pillows and she's just holding baby. But often in the early days of nursing, a new mom will find it helpful to stack some bed pillows at her side to help support her and her baby. A few things to note about the football position. Mom is holding baby on the same side she's nursing on. So in this clip, mom is holding baby in the right arm and nursing on her right breast. Baby is tucked around the side of mom's body, feet towards the back, and mom is supporting baby's head at the base of the neck. So she has her thumb on an ear and her index finger on an ear, and baby's neck or base of the skull is resting in the webbing of her hand. Couple of other tips when trying the football position so we can avoid some common mistakes. One, make sure baby is far enough backwards and high enough so that her mouth is lined up with your nipple. If she's too low or too forward, mom ends up leaning over the baby or trying to move her breast to baby, and this ends up hurting mom's neck or back and makes getting a proper latch challenging. Also, remember, we always want baby in a neutral position where her ear, shoulder, and hip are in one line. This makes latching and swallowing much easier for our little ones. In many of the breastfeeding positions we talk about, mom is proactively putting baby into position and latching. In the biological nursing or laid back approach, baby leads the way. To try the laid back approach, place baby high up on mom's chest. Baby and mom can be skin to skin, or babe can be lightly dressed as seen here. Be patient. It may take a few minutes for baby to get going, especially if they're sleepy. It's important to keep baby calm. If baby is getting upset, frustrated, or misses the target, just try again. Talk to baby and encourage them. You'll notice baby instinctually moves to the breast and typically finds a really comfortable latch. Of course, mom doesn't have to make babe do all the work on their own. You certainly can help guide them. You want to make sure you're supporting their shoulders and hips. They want to feel snug and secure. So, this position isn't just for newborns. Older babies can also feed in this position, especially if you notice that baby is having a hard time keeping up with the fast letdown or fast milk flow. Reclining will help baby cope because gravity won't be working against them in the same way as if you were sitting upright or they were lying down. Putting baby in this position high up on your chest is also one of the ways you can test if baby is still hungry or not. So if baby unlatches and you're not quite sure if they are completely full, put them back up on your chest to burp or hang out. If baby starts moving for the breast again, you have your answer. Here, you see mom nursing in a side lying position. Notice mom and babe are on their sides facing each other. In this video, mom has her arm under baby. Alternatively, mom can lie baby on the couch or the bed and then wrap her arm around baby's back. This is a great breastfeeding hold for mom if she's uncomfortable sitting up or if she wants to relax while nursing. For a lot of breastfeeding moms, the side lying position becomes easier once babe is a bit older and has some more head control. But that's not always the case and is certainly worth trying, especially for those nighttime feeds. Just remember, you don't want to fall asleep with baby in your bed. For safe sleep purposes, the American Academy of Pediatrics recommends that infants share a bedroom with parents, but not the same sleeping surface. The key to finding the right position is that it is comfortable for you and for baby. It doesn't matter what it's called. And remember, what worked well at the last feed may not feel comfortable at the next feed. So it's good to have a few different holds in your breastfeeding toolbox, so to speak. Our feeding plan on day 3 is going to be really similar to day 2. We want to continue to feed baby at least every 3 hours. It may be more. Remember, newborns eat about 8 to 12 times in a 24-hour period in these first few days and weeks. Cluster feeding on day 3 is normal, just as we talked about on day 2. Hang in there. You are close to getting your milk to come in, and things are going to get easier. Now, a lot of mamas do experience sore nipples around now. I want to make sure you know that sore nipples could be normal, but pain is not. So if you're feeling like the latch is painful or the entire feeding session is painful, I encourage you to ask for help. Benchmarks to remember for day 3. So baby's stomach is still growing. It's about the size of a walnut on day 3. We're still looking for those 8 to 12 feedings and 3 wet diapers for day 3 and 3 dirty diapers. The poop is going to be even lighter than yesterday. So we went from black to brown to now brownish green. And ultimately, when your milk comes in, we're going to get to yellow. Our goals today are to really gain comfort and confidence in your breastfeeding. So, day 4 and 5, still feeding every 2 to 3 hours. I should say we're still doing a ton of skin to skin, and we're still waking baby to feed if they're not asking to feed with those feeding cues before that 3 hour mark. The way we time that 3 hours is actually from the beginning of a breastfeeding session. So I know that can feel like a lot, but again, hang in there. You're doing great. Your milk is just about to come in if it hasn't already. And at this point, you may be experiencing some discomfort or engorgement because of your breast fullness or swelling. Breast engorgement often happens around day 4 or 5 when your milk really comes in and they feel super swollen. They can be hot, hard, tender to the touch, and pretty uncomfortable. So, the way we're going to treat your engorgement is by frequent and effective feeds. Use your baby to help you. We can treat engorgement with ice. So let's try ice packs after you nurse for comfort and to help reduce any swelling and inflammation. You can also treat that discomfort and the swelling with some ibuprofen if you're allowed to take that. Tylenol can also help. If baby is having a hard time latching, try reverse pressure softening. This is a technique where we push back the swelling and the milk at the base of the nipple with our fingers. So you can either do that with two thumbs at the base of the nipple and gently push back for 30 seconds, and then move the thumbs to a different position and push back again. You'll notice that your nipple really everts, and this is going to allow baby to latch on deeper. You can also try doing it with your fingers in a peace sign or two fingers on either side of the nipple. In addition to the reverse pressure softening, you can hand express or pump for relief. I just want to caution you not to over pump here because that just perpetuates the problem, right? So if we're feeding every 2 to 3 hours and then we start pumping, we're telling our body we need to remake all that milk, and then the engorgement continues. So you can take a little out for relief with the hand expression or the pumping, but don't empty. Day 4 and 5 benchmarks. Baby's stomach is about the size of an apricot. We're still looking for 8 to 12 feedings a day, but now that our milk is in, we're going to have a lot of wet and dirty diapers, usually around 6 saturated wet and a ton of poop. Once mom's breast milk is in, you'll notice that baby may poop at every feed. That's okay and normal. Now, not every baby does, but we're still looking for frequent poops. The color of the stool, as I mentioned, is now yellow, and it's loose and it's seedy. So that's not abnormal, and it can be likened to mustard. I think a lot of mamas get nervous that that may be diarrhea or that there could be something wrong with their breast milk. But in fact, normal stools from a breast milk fed baby is yellow and seedy. Our goals for day 4 and 5 are to continue to make sure that your breasts and your nipples are comfortable, using those strategies to help treat your engorgement if you're feeling super full. And at this point, we're looking for baby to begin to gain weight. So in those first few days, baby was losing weight. We were trying to limit to under 10%. And now that your milk is in, baby's going to start gaining weight to about a ½ ounce to an ounce a day. And we hope that baby's back to birth weight by week 2. Let's recap newborn stomach sizes. On day 1, baby's stomach is really small. It's about the size of a cherry or a shooter marble and can only fit about 1 teaspoon at every feed. So baby doesn't need a ton of volume. By day 2, a little bit bigger, about the size of a walnut, only fitting maybe 3/4 of an ounce to an ounce. At week 1, maybe baby's tummy is the size of an apricot. Baby may be taking in like 1½ to 2 ounces at each feeding. And by 1 month, baby is likely drinking at least 2½ ounces at every feed or more. Now, these are super general guidelines. It's not always going to be perfect, and baby doesn't drink the exact same amount at every feeding, but good guidelines for us to go by. Let's talk about a few other tips for success that we may not have covered already. We want to make sure that we allow baby to nurse as long as they want on the first breast and then offer the second. We don't need to time the feed or cut baby off at any specific time. Let baby keep going and let them tell you when they're done, and then offer that second side. Moms often ask, how do you know when baby is done? Sometimes baby will simply just unlatch and be asleep and no longer interested in the breast. You'll also notice that baby is super relaxed. They have open hands, they move around like a rag doll, and they appear to be milk drunk, as opposed to a hungry baby at the beginning of a feed who may be giving you those hunger cues. They may be fussy, and they likely have tight fists and are really hard to move. The best practice is to try to avoid pacifiers and bottles, all artificial nipples, for the first few weeks, unless it's medically indicated. Remember, you can't overfeed. In fact, frequent nursing is going to help you establish a strong milk supply. So feed as frequently as you can anytime you see that feeding cue, and don't be worried that you're overfeeding babe. Breastfed babies are expected to lose some weight in those first few days. It's totally normal. We just want to make sure we limit it to less than 10%. And the way we do that is by feeding frequently and making sure those sessions are effective. After your milk comes in, I'd say day 4, day 5, baby is going to start gaining weight at about half ounce to an ounce a day. That means they're going to be back to birth weight by at least 2 weeks. If you're ever concerned about baby's weight loss or weight gain, it's important to check in with your healthcare provider. Some important things to remember for week 2 and beyond. When baby is back to birth weight, continue to nurse at least every 3 hours during the day, and then you may want to switch to on demand at night. The best practice is to empty the first breast and then always offer the second side. If baby is choking or coughing when they're chugging at the breast, it may be that you have a fast letdown. So in this case, try reclining, lean back. This is going to help baby cope with the fast milk flow, and gravity won't be working against them. And then remember, if you're facing any issues or challenges, if you're in pain or you think your baby's not gaining appropriately, seek help as soon as possible from a certified lactation consultant so we can get you back on track and have a successful breastfeeding journey. Some quick things to remember for weeks 3 and 4. This is now a good time for you to begin pumping if you'd like and offering bottles of breast milk. Be on the lookout for clogged ducts. We want to monitor hard spots, tender spots in the breast by using those breast compressions when we're nursing or pumping, and resolve them as soon as possible if you do find one. We're going to use warm, moist heat, gentle massage, and effective emptying. If you're sick at any time, continue feeding your baby. That's actually going to be protective because your body is making antibodies to fight that illness, and that's going to be passed on to your baby through your breast milk. If at any point while you're breastfeeding you need to take any medication or have a medical procedure, call your healthcare provider or a lactation consultant, and we can check the safety of that medication while you're breastfeeding. And then just a quick heads up. There is often a growth spurt at 3 weeks. Don't be surprised if baby starts eating frequently, cluster feeding again, and a little extra fussy. Hang in there, and after a couple days, things will probably be back to normal. Thank you for taking this class. We hope you feel well informed for those first few hours after birth through those first few weeks and months of your breastfeeding journey.
Awesome. I just want to give Dana a round of applause. That class is phenomenal. I think back to my breastfeeding journey. My daughter, of course, is now 9, almost 10. But the thing that made me have breastfeeding success were the educators. It was the support. Was the people around me. That's really what made it successful. And I fed her for 2 years. And without that success and that education, it's just really hard. There's so many nuances. I know so many people talk about what a normal breastfeeding experience is like, and there's just no such thing as normal because you never know what this newborn is going to throw at you. Even my friends now who are breastfeeding and they go through this, it's just different for everyone, and they all have different struggles, and they all find a journey on how to feed the baby. So we're going to get to the live Q&A, but first, I want to make sure that I kind of let everyone know. So this was our breastfeeding 101. This class is available on our website as well as tons of classes. And let me go through and just show you a little bit, and then we'll get into that live Q&A. And don't forget, right now we have 30% off, and you could use, I think I put it in the chat. It's BF webinar 30, BF as in breastfeeding webinar 30. You get 30% off. That gives you access to our entire class catalog. That's everything from pregnancy to childbirth, all the way back to all the way to toddler behavior. So it will grow with you, especially if you're in that expecting that newborn phase right now. And the biggest thing is I took those hospital classes. The great thing about this was going back and referring to it. I could refer to it at any time because, when you have that pregnancy brain, or when I had that pregnancy brain, and then being able to just look back at it, still had that then newborn brain looking at it, but it's always great to refer back to so many times. So we have all of the guides down here, and you can have you'll get access to this class as well, but you can download all of these, print them off, refer to them at any time. The greatest thing that I found was, let me see if I can find it really quick. The newborn stomach size helped me, and the breastfeeding positions. I was looking for that poop guide. That poop guide saved me. But it is in there, and that is a good thing to always refer back to. So the good thing about this too, if you go to, when you're signed in, if you go to tinyhood.com/classes, this is when you're actually signed in, when you either have a subscription or you have a free class. We have everything featured by categories, and then we also have classes. So you can kind of browse through there. You could search. One of the greatest things too, we do have a grandparent prep. This can help just with grandparents, anyone who's watching the baby, make you feel a little bit more comfortable. Make sure that they're are up to date. So all of our stuff is expert vetted and up to date. So making sure that they're up to date with the latest scientific research, and that they have all the tools to help empower them and to empower you. So I think I linked it down there. Now this is the fun part where we get into actually the live Q&A. I saw a lot of questions kind of coming through, and I am excited to answer those. So let's see. Well, for Dana too, because I am not the expert here. Dana will be answering them. Dana, how was it watching that class through? Fun?
I love it. Got me excited for all these folks who are expecting, or maybe just have a new babe at home. So hopefully you guys found that helpful, and then we'll see if we can get into a little bit more detail now.
Yeah, so don't forget, you can go into the chat, ask your questions. We're keeping a tally of all the questions that were already asked. I'm going to go through, read them off. We do have about 20 minutes to kind of go through, look at those questions. And then if your question isn't answered, if we do end up running out of time, we'll try to make sure that they are answered in the follow-ups when you get that email. So make sure you open up that email, check out the replay, refer back to it, and check out the answers to those Q&As. So the first question is from Eve. She says, I was going with the planned C-section. Is it safe to breastfeed right after because of the sedative?
It is.
If
So no matter how you have your baby, whether it's a vaginal delivery, a C-section, do skin to skin as soon as you guys are able, hang out like that, and then you will notice feeding cues, and it is safe to feed your baby whenever you guys are both ready. Good luck.
Next one is, I had a baby a month ago. My baby has a shallow latch. How to latch a baby properly, especially if you have a big areola. Also, right after nursing, they feel a sharp stabbing pain in the breast. What could be that reason? So that might be a two
Ouch.
question. So
Yeah.
first, the shallow latch.
So the shallow latch thing, I would say, let's get back to basics. I would get all the boppies and the pillows out of there. I would put baby really close to you. And then remember that you are not giving your breast to the baby. You are actually asking baby to open nice and wide. And that is how we can get a bigger latch and a deeper latch. The way we do that, it was in the video a bit. We are going to try to line your nipple up with baby's top lip. You'll notice when you touch baby on the face or here, they go. So that's what you're trying to entice. So try to tickle baby's top lip with the breast. They open super wide, and then guide them towards you. If baby is so far away that it takes you super long time to get them close to you, that could be one of the issues. Or just generally, I would say, if it's a bad latch and it's pinchy, take baby off and try again. Don't stick it out. So that leads me to the second part of this question, which is, why am I having that pain after nursing? My guess is it's due to that shallow latch. They're pinching that nipple, and then when they release, the blood kind of starts flowing back to the nipple, and that can be painful. And so I think if we get your positioning and latch better, you're going to feel better. one last thing, once baby's on, if you feel like the lip is tucked, you can always try to manipulate, not in the mouth, but just by kind of guiding that baby's chin down just a little bit and see if that helps. And last, I would say seek some in-person guidance. See if your pediatrician or has a lactation consultant referral list, or just like go to a new mom support group, because we don't want you to be in pain, because then you're not going to be, comfortable to keep going. And the truth is, even if you decide to stick it out, baby's probably not getting as much milk as they want because they're constricting that flow. So let's see if we can get that more comfortable.
So when I had first started, I had a similar issue. Would you recommend a certain hold to the breast as well to help position it? Or when you're bringing the baby to breast, is there a certain hold that may help?
I think it's so person dependent. I think making sure baby is super close. I think sometimes we can also like just get so in our heads and then like think about all the steps, and when we intervene, we just mess everything up. And then again, if you just put baby on your chest, you're not wearing a shirt, they're not wearing a onesie, just chill and let them go. That you're going to be surprised. They often get themselves in the best position that doesn't hurt and all of a sudden, works. So I would say, go back to that laid back or biological position. That could be helpful.
Perfect. So let's move to the next question, which is Camilla. She says, what if my baby is not getting enough milk? Like they didn't poop day 4 or 5, and the pee is actually kind of orange. How do you actually get more milk in those first few days?
Yeah. So it sounds like babe does need more volume, right? Because we want them to be peeing super frequently and pretty clear, and then also pooping. And so, a couple ways to get more volume. I really like the hand expression technique because you can just see how much baby is getting, and they don't need a ton. But if that's not working for you, or you're not comfortable hand expressing, depending on where you live and what hospital you're at, there is donor milk potentially available. And there's also formula, right? And so I think that we just need to think about all these things as band-aids or bridges until we can get more milk in and reach whatever our feeding goals are. And so if we have to use a little supplementation, either from our own milk, someone else's, or formula, that's okay. It doesn't mean, breastfeeding's not going to work in the long term. It just means right now on day 4, you might need a little assistance. And so that's okay. We want to make sure we're keeping baby healthy. And so I would strategize either with pediatrician, your lactation consultant, but really making sure baby has enough volume is important.
Awesome. So next, Kelsey, she says, I'm 6 weeks in and baby gives up after the first few minutes, even though he's still hungry. He loves
Yeah,
the letdown period, but once it gets harder to get the milk out, he kind of gives up.
yeah.
She resorted to ending the feeds with a bottle of pumped milk.
Okay. So, that makes me sad because I don't want you to think you're resorting. You're still breastfeeding your baby, whether it's with, milk in a bottle or at the breast. But I think you are not alone, right? Babies like flow. So they like that beginning because it's fast. And then they're kind of like, what gives? So those breast compressions we talk about in the video, which is really just kind of like either a squeeze or a push to try to find a pocket of milk in your breast, that can be super helpful. I find babies who don't have a lot of patience, if you sometimes start with an ounce from the bottle first, give them an appetizer, give them a little bit more patience, they're willing to stay at the breast longer, which I think psychically just feels better. So if there's enough milk, I think we do the breast compressions and just speed up the flow for them. If they're just getting frustrated because there's not enough milk, then I think we do bottle feed in addition, and then maybe do a little pumping to increase our supply. But it sounds like you're doing a great job. So hang in there.
Perfect. Yeah, I know it's always so hard not to, the pressure that I feel like we always have and we put on ourselves is
Yeah.
sometimes gets us in our head. But definitely. So next one is Ikumi. I'm sorry if I pronounced that wrong. It says how to prevent mastitis. I heard it's a very common issue and it would be painful. I had it. So, do you have any recommendations on how to prevent mastitis?
Yeah, I think this can happen, unfortunately. We want to try to stay in our nursing or pumping patterns. So often, like that first night that you're all dreaming of, when baby sleeps, all of a sudden 4 to 5 hours, and you were used to feeding every 3 hours, and your breasts are super full. This can happen. Or you forget your pump at work and you go way longer than you ever expected to go without releasing milk. This can happen. I would say, again, try to stay on your pattern or in your schedule. Be cognizant of how your breasts are feeling. There's often like early warning signs, not always, but often, in which case, try to get a good feed or a good pump in. That ice helps a lot because it's going to reduce swelling, and it also just feels good. We used to talk about heat a lot more than we do now because there are some new guidelines. But some moms do find that very gentle massage after some, warm heat can be helpful super early. Once we get to a mastitis, we really need to treat that with antibiotics and ice and ibuprofen. But if it's that early days of just maybe a clog or engorgement, try to manage that with some of those other things we talk about in our classes. And then lots of rest. Be kind to yourself, ask for help, because again, mastitis is an infection and our bodies need to heal. So, you could continue to feed. In fact, you want to feed, but then see if you can get some extra rest, extra fluids, all that stuff we do when we're ill.
Awesome. Okay, so next question, sorry. Tina, they're asking, is it okay to breastfeed a side lying? And after that, is it necessary to burp the baby? Is it safe for a baby to sleep on its side after feeding? So,
So listen, always, 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 we're going to put babies to sleep on their backs on a, hard surface in their own cribs, right? That's huge. But in terms of feeding, yeah, you can breastfeed side lying if it's comfortable for you and baby. I personally, as a new mama, found it super difficult and was so jealous of all the people who could do it. I think as we said in the video, it gets easier as the baby gets older. But yeah, do whatever works. And then when it comes to burping, everybody's different. I think it's good practice to start burping. If you don't have like a baby who's a big burper and they don't spit up, and do they have to burp? Nah. But I would try. People also tell me they spend like 20 minutes burping. I kind of feel like if it doesn't happen in the first few minutes, it's probably not going to happen. And gas is going to come out one way or the other, but we try to limit the discomfort for baby. So I would try.
okay, next is Luz. They're wondering, how do you get the baby to actually latch properly with a nipple shield?
So if everybody doesn't know what a nipple shield is, it's like this silicone cover that we sometimes use if mom's anatomy is challenging for baby to latch, or our premature babies. Often we use that in the NICU. And so it's a great tool. But it can be a little bit frustrating if it falls off or if baby is still just kind of latching to the tip. So with the nipple shield, it's going to be really important to still do that enticement and tickling so they open. In fact, it's really important to do that with a bottle feed too. we always want to get a deep latch, whether it's on, a bottle nipple, the nipple shields, or on the breast. So really just ask baby to open nice and wide and make sure they're all the way to the base of the nipple shield. You shouldn't see any plastic kind of in baby's mouth. They should be all the way on, in the same way that we saw that picture in the video, that baby was all the way onto the breast, because the hope is when we wean off the shield, that baby's gonna understand they have to latch like that directly to the breast. So I would say, again, it's that positioning and just back to basics thing. Often, if you start with the nipple shield and then as things get going 5-7 minutes in, take it off and then try to directly latch, then that may be helpful for enticing that deep latch.
Awesome. Okay, next is Sarah. Sarah says, what if your baby, which this is a very common one, what if your baby has a lip and tongue tie and you want to breastfeed, but it's hard to get them to latch? What advice do you have? She says, my last daughter had both, and it became impossible to get her to breastfeed. And it also got so bad that they had to syringe feed her. She's now 22 months, and her lip tie is done and got her lip tie done at 2 weeks. And it grew great after that, but she had to formula feed with her. She's hoping to breastfeed this time, and she's actually due on Friday. Yes, and yeah, she's just wondering what's the advice on that?
So every baby's different. Just because your first had a tie doesn't mean your second will. But I do kind of see trends like that. And then to say just because they have a tie doesn't mean that they won't be great breastfeeders. So sometimes I'm shocked that I notice in my assessment that baby has a tie of some sort and mom is in no pain and baby's drinking beautifully. So, where the new kind of thinking is at around tongue ties is to figure out whether it has a functional impact, meaning, is mom comfortable? Is baby gaining weight? Is mom's supply okay? And then we assess. If it does have a functional impact, I think, there's some real benefit in seeing an ear, nose, throat doctor or a pediatrician who can help either do a frenotomy or cut those ties. First, obviously, to assess whether that's necessary. If there's a lag in getting that assessed or treated and your supply isn't coming in well, or you're just in so much pain or baby can't latch, let's start pumping so we can get your milk supply in, protect that supply until we handle the lip tie and the tongue tie, and then we'll figure out how to get baby back to the breast. So I think just because it happened with number one doesn't mean it's going to happen with number two. And then I would say, mention it right in the hospital to the lactation consultant or your pediatrician. Hey, my first had bad ties and it really impacted my breastfeeding journey. What do you think about, this babe? And if you don't like the first opinion, kind of go seek out others and advocate for yourself for sure.
Awesome. So we just have a few minutes left. I'm going to take it about 5 more minutes. I'll go through a few more questions. And again, whatever we don't answer, we'll try to send out with that follow-up to answer any of those questions. As well as if you do have a Tinyhood subscription, you do have access to our weekly live group sessions where you get to answer these questions. And it's a little bit smaller of a group. We had over 100 today. So it's a little bit smaller of a group, which is great. It's a little bit smaller of a group. You get to ask those questions too, especially as they come up, because throughout your journey, you're going to have a bunch of questions. They're going to get answered. But let's keep going with Dana while we have her here. So Dana, the next question is Claudia. She says, if I start to pump colostrum since day one, does that reduce the amount of colostrum for the baby? And or does it produce the milk sooner? Is it okay, or should she just wait to start pumping?
Okay, great question. So the more we take out, the more our body makes. So I know we often think like, oh, don't feed so quickly after the last feed, or don't pump because, then there'll be nothing left. So it's a little counterintuitive. The more we take out, the more we make. Not sure if you mean like harvesting or hand expressing colostrum before baby's born. Some people do that. If you're interested in that, I would strongly encourage you talking to your OB or your midwife, your healthcare provider, to see if it's okay with them, and when you could start doing that, because nipple stimulation can start early labor. So definitely not until weeks 37, 38, and only with the okay from your provider. And not everyone needs to do that. That's really if maybe you have like a medical issue that you think your milk might not come in so quickly, or you've had breast surgery or things like that. So it is a good option. And then in those first few days, I would say let baby get first licks, just because you'll be doing so much cuddling and they're going to want to, get on the breast as much as possible. But if you have some time to do a little bit of hand expression and collect it and give it to them in a cup or a syringe or however you want, it's a nice insurance policy just to give them a little extra and get your milk to come in faster. Again, you don't have to, but some people do choose to do that. Remember, you need to rest and you need to eat. And so, you don't want to be feeding and pumping and hand expressing. And, really, if you're stimulating 8 to 12 times a day in those first few days, you're going to be great.
Perfect. Okay, so we're running out of time. We're going to do 2 more of these questions.
Okay.
So this one is always my favorite to hear the answer to. This is like a little fun fact I like to share with my friends too. Okay, so what is the best bottles and nipples that closely mimic the breast?
Well, nothing mimics the breast. So I just feel like we need to get that out of our head. And that's okay, because babies are really smart, right? So it doesn't have to mimic the breast. It just has to be a slow flow nipple, right? So that's key. I also find that the bottles that work best, or the nipples that work best for breastfed babies, are ones with a kind of a shallow nipple design, shallow slope, excuse me. We have some good pictures, I believe, in some of those handouts, Stacy, instead of ones that are like very straw-like, because in the same way that we don't want baby latching shallow to the nipple or the nipple shields, we don't want them like, biting on a breast, a bottle either. So I like things with a shallow slope, if you will, less of a straw with a big neck. And we have a bunch of illustrations in the class.
Perfect. Okay, so our last question that we're going to answer live. Again, we're going to send out a replay. Make sure that you open that up. Be careful if it goes to your spam. Just check it. By tomorrow, it should be within like 24 hours. We'll try to send that out. Make sure that it's in a good format. Make sure I have those questions 24 to 48 hours. So within the next 2 days. I did see someone said, "Is there a handout?" So all of these handouts are located on our website, at our free breastfeeding 101 class, and then and the rest of the classes all have handouts as well that you can download. But Jessica specifically was asking, how do I start pumping enough to have my partner do a feeding without creating an oversupply?
Great question to end on. So I would say don't stress about this in the first few weeks. Really the first couple weeks, just focus on establishing your supply, getting baby back to birth weight, getting comfortable. And then once you feel like you're starting to get into the groove of things, although I don't know that we ever as parents ever feel like we're fully in the groove, but I'd say week 2, week 3, week 4, you want to try to pump a few minutes before you think baby's going to be ready for their bottle. And then just kind of hand off that fresh milk. If there's a lot of milk, then just give what the smallest amount is in the bottle. And then if they don't need any more, we can start banking that. And then I would say, to get ahead of yourself, that first feed in the morning, breastfeed like you normally do, and then pop the pump on for like 10 minutes. And anything you get is bonus because you've already fed and babe's not going to eat for 2 to 3 hours again. And so whatever you get is bonus. If you start getting 1 ounce every day, after a couple days, you have a bonus bottle. But don't get all caught up in some of these freezer pictures with stacks of breast milk, because that's just kind of not the norm, and is going to set you up for disappointment. It's normal just to have a small cushion, so that you can, have a partner help you, or go out for a little bit. And I like that strategy of pumping after your first feed in the morning, because that's when your breasts are the fullest. You make up the most milk in the wee hours of the night.
Awesome. Thank you, Dana, for joining us, for answering all of those questions. Do you have any closing remarks, anything that you want to like kind of say to everyone before we start signing off? Or
Yeah, you got this. Find your cheerleaders. It's just like with anything in pregnancy. I would beware what you Google, and don't get stuck down some, random rabbit hole. Go to your trusted sources. So again, like I think, go to Tinyhood, and go to, those sites and get good info, and then find your support system, because it really does. It takes a village. You're not alone. Ask for help, lactation consultant, pediatricians, etc. We're here for you, and best of luck, and thanks for joining.
yes, thank you, everyone. Don't forget about the exclusive offer. You can get 30% off, which it ends tomorrow. This is the highest percentage we do off, so it's 30% off. You get a full year. You get to access and refer back all of these classes, all of the downloads, the handouts, the live weekly support session. So we have hundreds of downloads, class guides, checklists, cheat sheets. So you can scan that, or I put in the chat, I put the link. You can kind of join there. Again, having that extra support and having stuff to refer back to, you can, it changes the journey. I feel like it really helps you feel empowered, and that of course is our mission, to help empower parents. And don't forget, we do have the grandparents guide, shared with also babysitters, anyone who's watching the baby. We have CPR classes, anything, any class that you need to get prepared to get through all of life's little milestones. We got you, and we got 30% off until tomorrow. And you could purchase that directly right there, or you can actually even go to our site and start a free trial. You can still use that code BFWebinar30. So we know you came from here. We know that you saw this webinar. And oh, really cool thing I didn't even mention is that we had people all the way from Australia. I think that was the furthest that we had someone from. So thank you for everyone who tuned in from all over. It's great to be able to connect, offer this webinar to everyone, and to help support doing the mission that it is, just empowering parents. So we hope you have a great night. Don't forget to check out the replay when you get it in your inbox. Make sure to look in the spam, and we hope you have a great evening. Bye, everyone.